Hey everybody, and welcome back to the channel. As you can see, we're doing things a little differently today. I'm not sure if we're going to continue doing things this way or not. It's just something I'm trying out. I had a few different conversations with some people, um, and I think I'm finally in a place where I feel like I can sit down like this. Um, it's been a long time coming. I'm not the, I guess the easiest way to say it is I'm not the most comfortable doing stuff like this with this one-on-one, but I'm going to try to embrace it and envelop it, and hopefully I get a lot of positive feedback from everybody. Um, but now that I've addressed the elephant in the room, so to speak, um, what I wanted to talk about today was the origins of my fetish. Um, I'm not the most comfortable calling it a fetish. It's, I mean, that is what it is, but that's not how it started. The actual definition of fetish is where you derive sexual pleasure or arousal from something that's not necessarily sexual. Um, so, inanimate objects, types of clothing, particular different scenarios, and that sort of thing are all considered fetishes. Just liking a woman with big breasts or a blonde or something like that is not necessarily so much of a fetish, because that's something natural. Um, so there's a natural attraction to that, whereas having a sexual attraction to a pair of boots or a different type of clothing or something of that nature um, doesn't occur naturally um, in Mother Nature and that sort of thing. So there is no male and female natural attraction there. It's something that's not living in it, that sort of thing. It's really, when you try to put it into direct words, it's a little difficult, but that's about the best way that you can describe it. Um, so for me, it started at an early age where I can actually think back on, say, there's a definitive point in my life where I could tell I had and a fetish is not an appropriate term at this point because it was pre-puberty. So it wasn't a sexual attraction because there was no sexual connotation from it. Um, it was just my brain was naturally focused on it. So I like to say it was more of a fascination than anything else. But it was probably, I was about 7 years old, second grade, elementary school. So when we can really think back and remember, oh, that was a defining year in my life. Um, one of my second grade teachers, I had multiple teachers where we switched classes and it was some weird thing, but one of my two second grade teachers um, had this cream leather pair of knee-high boots. They had probably, if I remember right, it was probably like a smaller 2-inch heel, 2.5 inch, but they were a cream leather with a little bit of um, I think they had like a stitch pattern that went across along the shaft, kind of like this, down it. Um, but I just remember she'd wear them, and I couldn't stop even looking at them. I was completely fascinated by them. No particular specific reason or anything. Just it seemed like I was just focused on them all the time. Um, Around the same time, maybe a little later, maybe a year or two later, my mom purchased two different pairs of boots. One being a chocolate brown leather with a 3-inch heel. I remember them very distinctly. They were very similar color to this pair of Nine West boots that I have. Um, that is not the reason why I bought them. I don't have any kind of Oedipus complex or anything like that. I got these because they were a very good deal, and I do like the color of them. Um, but these by no means was some kind of Freudian connection to my mother or anything like that. And same with this pair. We'll talk about those in a minute, but it was nothing like that. It was specifically, I remember she had a nice pair of brown leather knee high boots, 3-inch heel, pointed toe. Um, she worked in a management position, so she did wear them to work on occasion and whatnot. Kind of dressy, always with a long skirt. And it was, again, when she did wear them, I constantly looking down and looking at them. I'd sneak into her closet and just pick them up and stare at them till eventually I got older and I got daring and I tried them on, as a lot of cross dressers do. Um, the other pair was also knee high, and they were a similar color to this. They were a suede leather with a 3.5-inch heel. I do remember specifically for some reason the suede pair had a half-inch higher heel. I probably measured them 100,000 times as a teenager and whatnot. Like I said, it was a fascination, borderline obsession. Um, but it wasn't until after I went through puberty that I really started to try to experiment and wear them and whatnot. And by that time, my feet were almost, there was probably 1 year where I could actually wear them. And then my feet grew so quickly that I couldn't wear them any longer. As much as I would want to, both of them were pull on with no zippers. And to try to pull on a pair of boots that are too small for you with no zipper is really difficult. Once you do get them on, it's virtually impossible to get them off. I've done that so many different times that throughout the years that it's like, oh my god, trying to get a boot off by yourself, trying to get that heel to slip out of the heel cup. Anybody with a nice pair of good fitting cowboy boots will tell you, if you don't have one of those pieces of wood where you can slide the heel of the boot in and pull your foot out of the boot, oh my, it's really really difficult. Same thing with horse riding boots. When they fit really really snug and really nice, that's when they're the most difficult to take off. um, so anyway, she had those two pairs of boots, and those are probably my earliest memories of really when everything started. After I went through puberty and whatnot, ended up not really doing anything. Finally, got my driver's license and was able to go out to stores and whatnot. Had my first serious girlfriend and bought her one or two pairs of boots as I would, got a part time job and whatnot. I had extra money living at home, nothing to spend it on. Bought her a couple pairs. We broke up. Nothing really ever came of that. And then probably 1995 or so, we finally got internet where I was living in rural Massachusetts. And discovered eBay, the great world of eBay, and used items for sale. And back then it was like the wild wild west. Like anybody sold anything. There was no market, there was no market values for things, and I ended up buying all kinds of crazy stuff. There was one point where I bought an entire box. It was 20 something pairs of white boots. They were all white, they were all different sizes, none of them were marked, and they were all very, very used, almost to the point of moldy. And I got it, and I was so like, I can't say distraught. I was disappointed though, because not a single pair were my size. They ranged anywhere from a 5 to a 9, and I was wearing a 10.5 to 11. And I'm like, oh man. I was just hoping that like one or two pairs, because I think I paid $20 for the whole thing. It was like $20 shipping, $20, this huge box. But it was crazy. And I'm like, what am I gonna do with all that? I ended up just throwing them away because they were no good. It was a bad deal, but it was the first of many deals that I bought and sold through there over the years. And that's basically my origin story. It goes all the way back to 7 years old, and a fascination and not a fetish, because it was just something that was ingrained into my head. There was no sexual abuse or anything like that. Great childhood, loving home, great parents. I'm an only child, so there was no bullying or anything from any siblings or anything like that. It was just something. One day I saw that pair of boots on my teacher, and hey, that makes sense. That's something that I'm interested in, and that's something I like. I can't explain why I like it. I just do. I just realized that's what it was, and kind of went with it. Once I got older, I met my wife. I'd say very early, within the first month of dating, I explained it to her and said, "Hey, this is something that's part of me, and this is who I am. And if you accept that, then that's great. If not, then we're probably gonna have to move on, and this isn't gonna work." Um, I figured it was better to do it very early in the relationship before we got super attached and involved, rather than hide it away and have it come out years later. That's another big question that I always get, is how did you get your wife to how did you tell her, and how did you get her to accept you, and this and that. And I didn't get her to do anything. I simply told her and said, look, this is how it is, and if you don't like it, that's cool. We'll just be on our way. I mean, we'd only been on one or two dates, maybe three. um, yeah, it was an awkward conversation. It was very nerve-wracking, and looking back on it, I was like, oh, I really surprised I did it, but it had to be done at the same point. Um, it's a strong feeling of mine, so it needed to be, because it was not going to be something that I was going to bottle up and keep inside. Um, and that was back in 20 years ago. So it was very important to me. I mean, I could realize even back then that this was not something that just goes away and you can hide and whatnot. So I express my deepest sympathy to those of you that might be watching and are in a relationship where your spouse is not accepting of who you are. Deep down, you feel like you need to hide it away. And like I said, my deepest condolences to you, and I hope that you can find some sort of peace with who you are and try to find some sort of balance. But anyhow, I appreciate everybody watching. Please leave me comments. If you found this to be helpful at all, if you found it to be informative, interesting, anything, even negative comments, just let me know what you think. If you like the content, please make sure to click subscribe down below. Hit the like, hit the bell for notifications. I can say that I do have a new pair of boots coming in this week, at the end of the week, on Friday. So maybe next Monday or Tuesday, depending on how things go, we may end up having a new video there, with another review, which of course, as we know, a review video means a walking video as well. So keep a lookout for that. In the meantime, I hope you guys all stay safe, stay home, and we'll talk to you later. Thanks for watching.